Alright guys, we are back at our word workbook today, and we are going to have a new root word for and prefix for this week. So let's go ahead and turn to our table of contents. Our first prefix for this week is non, and it also means not. And that can go on page 5. So, page 5, non, not. The next two you can actually put on the same one. It's I, R, and I, L. And both of them also mean not. And they will go on page 6. You will notice that all of the prefixes that we have studied so far all mean the same thing. So IM, IN, NON, IR, IL, all of those mean not. So when you see them in the words, you can kind of get an idea what they mean or what your words mean. Let's go ahead and flip over to our prefix tab. We're going to want to flip to page 5. 5 is where we're going to be putting the first prefix, which is non. It means not. Alright, one of the words that you might see non is non-human. The alien was non-human. It means it's not a human, not a person. Another word that you might see non in is non-toxic. Toxic means dangerous, so non-toxic would mean not dangerous. Another one that you probably see a lot of is non-fiction. Which means not fiction or not real. Alright, we flip over to page 6. I want you to put IR and IL. Both of these also mean not. We have some words here too. Let's start with IR. Our first word is irresponsible. Alright, irresponsible would mean not responsible, not trusted. Your next one is irreplaceable. Irreplaceable means that you can't replace it. You're not going to be able to ever get it again. Alright, let's go to the IL words, which also means not. So our first one would be illegal. Illegal means not legal. And then our second one would be illiterate. Which means not able to read. Alright, make sure that you look for these prefixes as we go throughout our week. I'm sure you'll find lots of them in stories that we are reading about our animals. Let's flip back to our table of contents for a moment, to our root, the root part of our table of contents. The root that we have today, or this week, is photo. Photo means light. And we'll be working on pages 27 and 28. Okay, if you want to put that to the side for just a moment, we have two things that we're going to be working on. We're going to be working on our flower. We're going to be working our definitions. If you want to take a few moments and color your flower, I would suggest using colored pencils because you want to be able to see your words. I don't want to spend too much time coloring our flower, but we always like to make things look pretty. Okay, so we're finishing up our coloring. Again, it shouldn't take you a long time to color. But you want to make sure it looks nice. So the root word photo, we see quite a lot. A lot of the words you probably already know. But knowing that photo means light kind of helps us out in figuring out the words that we do not know. That's where our root words and our prefixes come in handy. If you're on a test and you don't know a word and you can't look it up or ask anybody, you can always look for these little hints that can help you try to figure out what the word means. Alright, so we've colored our picture. We are ready to cut. Now this one is a little trickier than a lot of them, but it looks really neat in the end. So the first thing that you want to do is to cut off your photo at the bottom. Now put it to the side because we're definitely going to glue it into our notebooks. And you're going to cut on the dotted lines only. You do not want to cut on anything that is not a dotted line. All the way around. Just cut on that dotted line there. And my last one right here. Alright, so let's get our notebook back. We said that photo is going to go on page 27. So I'm going to use my little tabs, flip over to roots, and look for page 27. Alright, our definitions here will go on to page 27. I put a little bit of glue on there for myself. You can put them in like this, or you can turn it the other way, whichever way you prefer. Alright, and then our picture is going to go on page 28. Now, here is the tricky part. The tricky part is you want to put glue on this middle section right here, and that is all. Now you probably have a glue stick. I have some other glue, so I'm going to put just a few dots. And then we are going to glue our picture to our page. Alright, now we need to write our definitions. Have our picture glued in. We want to write our definitions down. Alright, we're going to start with photography right here. Now this is probably a word that all of you have heard. It would be what your mom wants you to take every Christmas. You have to go see a photographer to take your pictures. So this is a picture made by a camera. Alright, so it's a picture made by a camera. You notice that I just flipped my little lid up there, or my little piece of paper up there, so I could write right underneath it. Alright. Our next word that we have here is photosynthesis. This is a little bit bigger word. You probably should have heard this word. Photosynthesis is the way plants make food when they get light. So we're going to say the way plants make food when they get light. Notice that word light in there. That's where our photo comes into play. Alright, if you need to pause it to write, that is perfectly fine. Alright, we're going to look at our next one, which is photon. Now, photon is probably not something that you guys have ever heard of, but this is actually a tiny particle of light. Tiny particle of light. It's called a photon, and you know that because photo is in that word, which means light. Alright, the next one is photocopy. And this is, teachers do this a whole lot. You make paper copies made by a special machine that uses light. That's paper copies made by a special machine that uses light. You need to know how to spell special. It's S-P-E-C-I-A-L. Alright, and our last one is telephoto. Now, you may have heard this if you have parents that like to take pictures. They could have a telephoto lens. And this is a lens on a camera that makes things look closer. It's a lens on a camera that makes things look closer. If you ever watch football or any sports, they use telephoto lenses, the big lenses, to make things look a little bit closer. Alright, so that is our root word for the week. It is photo, which means light. Oh, let's not forget to put our other piece on. You can put it here, you can put it on the other side, kind of up to you. But make sure you get it on there. Now you can go into Blackboard and there is an activity for photo, just like last week, that you can go and do. Alright, thanks.